In order to create a good film positive, we want to make sure that the film positive part of the image, or the black portion of the image, is very opaque in order to block the light during exposure. Now you can choose any type of printer to print your film positives. Basically, any printer can work to print a black image on a clear transparency sheet, but there's a couple different types of transparency sheets and a couple different types of printers that we'd recommend in order to get that most opaque and darkest image to have the optimal exposure. Your basic inkjet printer will print a film positive, let's say a Lexmark, Brother, HP, whatever it may be, but you do have some limitations. The first is size. You can typically only print 8.5 by 11 or 8.5 by 14 out of a standard printer. The second limitation is the quality of the image. Most inkjet printers are meant for printing on white paper. So when you try to print a lot of ink on a transparency film like this, the image shows up very light. This was printed out of a standard inkjet printer. You can see how light the area of the positive film is. It would maybe block out some exposure light, but not optimally. What we want to do is create this a lot darker. So typically, if you're using a standard printer, sometimes you might have to print out 1 or 2 copies of these and stack them on top of each other to double up the density. Keep that in mind when purchasing a printer. If you don't have a good film, you're going to have a harder time burning the screen. Will it work? Yeah, it might work, but it won't work as good as if you have a very dark image. So an image like this, what I would recommend doing is at least doubling it up, printing 2 copies out and stacking them on top of each other. Always make sure you're printing with your best quality print settings with your printer, and we'll kind of show how to choose those in a second here. This first type of film is a standard inkjet transparency. It has an inkjet receptive coating sprayed onto it that holds the ink onto the film. When you put this in your printer, you put it with the coating face up. You can tell by licking your finger and kind of touching, and it gets a little sticky and it feels a little rough on the inkjet receptive side. Inkjet transparencies are probably the most economical type of transparencies. However, there's a couple downsides to using those. The inkjet receptive coating doesn't hold a lot of ink, so it's hard to get a good density or opacity on your positive film. The second side is the coating isn't waterproof. So if you smudge it with a wet finger or in your darkroom you get water on it, it'll smear the image and you'll ruin your film. Let's talk about the other types of inkjet film. This type of inkjet film is called a waterproof inkjet film. The waterproof inkjet film actually retains the ink, so as soon as it's printed, it's encapsulated into the center of the film. That creates the waterproofness of the film, because if you spill water on this film, the ink's already in the center of the film and it doesn't wash off the top. This also will hold more ink and give you a thicker ink deposit. Now this inkjet film was printed out of an Epson printer using the premium quality photo settings of the printer. You can see this and how much more opaque it is than this film right here. It's a world of difference. And that comes from using the type of the film, a much better printer, an Epson printer. This was printed out of an Epson 1400, and then also the 1400 has a special ink in it. It's a dye-based ink. Most printers come with a pigment-based ink that are meant on printing on white paper because they don't have to be opaque. A dye-based ink or a special ink put into an Epson printer can create a much more opaque deposit and have a much better result for a good positive film when you go to exposure. The last type of film positive we'll talk about is laser. A lot of people have laser printers. Laser printers are pretty good for doing simple spot color work. They're going to work better than your low-end inkjet printer, but not quite as good as a high-end Epson printer. This is a laser film. Now laser film is always going to be thicker, and it's also going to be more cloudy. The cloudiness and the thickness of the film help it absorb the heat as it goes through the laser thermal process. So you can see this, it is more opaque than our standard inkjet film, but not as opaque as our high quality waterproof inkjet film printed with a dye-based ink out of a high-end Epson printer.